Good morning. So we will start with this. Grandma Lois is here again for today, May 30th, 2025. This is a good Bible verse, Colossians 3:17. And whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. So that's what we're doing today. And we've already been having fun. We went to 2 thrift stores already. And I'm still working on somehow to put something in the window when we're going down the road to get some better videos because we see interesting things. Of course, I've been doing a lot of shorts and they're fun. And I wanted it's pretty warm today. It's let's see how warm is it out. 61 degrees. Don't feel too bad. But I was glad to see the rain again because you know what? I don't have to water my tomatoes. They are growing so wonderfully well, and God is doing all the watering. Usually I have to water, which I don't like watering, and I'm lazy about it. So I have a hose hooked up, and then you have to get the sprayer, and you have to get the hose, and it's just a lot easier to let the Lord do it. So thank you, Jesus. That's a lot easier. So we have been down by the river, and it's full, and James was looking for driftwood, and I don't want no driftwood. Thank you. No. He'll drag in anything, and he has, and I can do without it. But we went down to the one thrift store, and I found on the dash, James's dash is just real slippery on the van. So I found a thing that's kind of heavy rubber vinyl uh, that I laid across, and I'm hoping I can keep my stuff sitting there when we go down the road. High hopes. I was going to tell y'all something. Is that one lady says, I was going to tell you something. And then she tells it. She's on TikTok, and she is funny, and I can't remember her name. But today we're going to, or he's going to go to Sellersburg and work because it's Friday, and there's no yard sales today to speak of. That's why you go to thrift stores on Friday. And we go down to that thrift store where we know everybody. And we missed Helen today. We always get to see Helen. That's a girlfriend that goes to the Christian church. She used to be in my Sunday school class. You know, I was talking to somebody recently about, your kids and how you have to bring them up. And, a lot of people are not going to church nowadays. But I would suggest to people that are going to church that they go to one that has a good Sunday school class, has stuff for their kids to do, and to get the children involved. So many of these older churches nowadays, and I know this is the truth, and it was true in my day, they had youth church, and that's a good thing because they can understand more what's going on. And Sunday school was always good for me. That's where I learned a lot of Bible stories. And then when I was dog grooming, which I did for several years, I played preachers on the radio because I wanted to learn more about the Bible. And it don't seem to stick too good. But I did learn a lot. And then we had trouble in our church where I had been going since I was 12 years old. And it's down on Oak Street now. And you know what? They moved to a bigger church. And it was lots better. And that's where Buddy and I went for a long time. And then we switched. But we did this back when I was in my 30s. We switched to Evangel Tabernacle in Louisville. Brother Wayman Rogers was the pastor. And they had all kinds of things for young people, like they had church camp you could go to, and my kids went to that. It didn't cost a lot, but they had to stay all week, and they would have preachers that could preach and to kids and sing, and it was wonderful. And they had cabins, and they made friends that they still have to this day. They don't see them, but they're in touch. And because we changed churches, we was having trouble in our church. One of the people that was going to church, a young man, about in his 30s, was seen doing something he shouldn't be doing, and the pastor called him on the carpet because he was very active in the church, and he told his mommy about it, and his mother was very active in the church, and they got up a petition and they got rid of that pastor. And I told Buddy, I'm not getting in on this fight. We're changing churches. So we went to Louisville to church where my Aunt Mary went. And that's what changed our lives so much, because God sent us to a church that was so beneficial to my children and to me and Buddy. Because Brother Wayman Rogers would say to Buddy, when he found out he was a country singer, and I've told this before, and Norman and my brother Dennis, they watch all these, and a lot of y'all are new and you don't watch all the things I've told. But this pastor would say, we got Brother Buddy Baird this morning. Sing us a song, Brother Buddy. Buddy took his guitar everywhere. He did. So he would sing a song, My God is Real. He's really real. And that's a really good song. You can look it up on YouTube. And then he would sing, Just a Closer Walk with Thee. And those were the only two gospel songs that Buddy knew at that time. So Brother Rogers would ask him that every week when we went to church. Finally, he told me, he said, I got to learn some more gospel songs. I need to sing something besides. So he started learning some gospel songs where he could vary. But, you know, God was in it. God was in it. God anointed Buddy and called him to the ministry later on. But when this gospel group that was forming heard that Buddy Baird, because he didn't get saved till he was like 36 years old or older, and I prayed for him 18 years before he converted and really started doing right with the Lord, quit drinking, and never drank another drop once he received Jesus, which was wonderful. I used to pour it down the drain because I hated it when he was a beer man. He didn't drink whiskey. He drank beer. And 3 beers, and he was tipsy. He never got mean. He was just tipsy. But we was taught in our church, you do not get tipsy. You might drink a little, but you don't get to where it affects you. And he would let it affect him. So anyway, he got saved, quit drinking, and this group that was forming called him and asked him if he wanted to sing lead. So he went and tried out, and so he sang with this gospel group for 5 years. And then they broke up over we got a girl singer in the group, and she took up with our lead guy, and his wife caught him talking on the phone with this girl, and they were having not good. So when the wife found out, she said, that's the end of you singing, mister, if we're going to have a marriage. And he quit. He just dropped it. And here we had a big old bus and a sound system and all that stuff. And Buddy had signed on the loans, and the other ones had signed on the loan. And you know who got stuck with all that? Me and Buddy. So we kept the bus a while and used it. And then we put some other groups together on our own. And we sang good news singers, and we just kept on trucking. And then after that, they started asking Buddy to, finally that all died out. Honey, everything passes. Life keeps changing all the time. And I've been watching that sweet girl up there in Kentucky Life with Debbie. And her life is changing so much because her only child is going to be going to college. And they got horses. They got a place somewhere. 2 of them, they want them together. Now, Debbie, you need to get that on there and let us know what happens to them 2 horses. I'm shouting her out again because I'm helping her along. She told me, you know, I watch you all the time. And she says, I have something to say, I think. So I think I'll start a YouTube channel. And I told her, go for it. And she did. And I'm proud of her. She's doing real good. She's doing real good. She's only been on, and she tells a funny story at the end. And I was going to play that for James yesterday, and it is so funny. You can watch her just to watch that story. What I told her, I commented, and I says, I'm going to let you tell it. And I cannot retell. I'm not a joke teller. Okay, so where was I? I just get tickled sometimes. You'll have to excuse me. I was going to try to put on a live, just experiment with a live video. And so I hit the live, and then I couldn't get my iPad to go horizontal. They said you got to flip it, and I couldn't figure out how to do that. Couldn't figure out how to back out of the live. What do I do now? So it said, set it for later. So I set it for later. I don't know what happened. It's not happening. I tried to Google and find out what to do. It'll just have to die out. It's not going to happen. I'm going to do what I'm doing. You know what what I always say, or I heard from our mechanic one time when I wanted to get something fixed, and he said, it don't really need. You don't fix it till it's broke. So it's not broke. My YouTube is not broke. It's doing good. Thank you, Jesus. Anyway, where was I? I don't know, but I just have fun talking. And I was going to do, this morning I was stuck in the van while James was in Home Depot. And I sat and talked for about 9 minutes. And I have not been able to get that uploaded because it was fun. But I'm going to try again later. It might show up yet. Who knows? But this is Friday morning. And I think I've just about run out of anything to say. Oh, yeah, changing churches and children. I do want to say some more about that. The Bible says, train up a child in the way it should go, and when they're old, they'll not depart from it, and they'll come back. And so I was so glad we changed churches and went to Evangel over in Louisville, because my children's had such a much better spiritual teaching than they was getting in our church that we had been going to for so long. And I didn't want to be in a church where nothing was happening, but so many of these churches nowadays out in the country, they're just old people, and there they are, and there's nothing going on. But I will say, where James goes, and I don't go and sit, I stream them. Dr. John Carmichael is the pastor, Dr. John Carmichael Ministries, and we're Pentecostal, same as the Assemblies of God, because they went on their own and came out of the Assemblies of God. This is an outreach of Evangel over in Louisville, so they call it Evangel North, because we're in Clarksville, they're in Louisville, and there's about 5 or 6 branch churches that came out of that, and that was the dream of Brother Wayman Rogers to do that. And now his son is the pastor over there, Bob. And we know Bob Rogers very well, know his daughter very well. My kids all knew her. Sherry, they all went to Bible camp and youth things with her. Sandra, my niece, and so many of them. My sister, she sent her kids to that church camp. Train up them in the way they should go. And if you don't go to church anywhere, stream a good church. There are, you can, like if you're hunting for another church and you don't know where you want to go and you're not happy where you're at or something, and that happens, I guarantee you, just stream and see what it's like. Because almost all these churches nowadays are on Facebook. So you can find out what it's like before you go. That's what I think. But we've got others we stream. James and I, we like Cowboy Church. It's down in Texas, I think. And Randy Weaver is the pastor. An older guy, about 65, bald-headed as a buzzard, got the most beautiful wife. And we've been watching them now a couple of years. We discovered them accidentally, and their church is growing like crazy. It is Assembly of God Church. And then Karen and Mike. Now, Mike, my son-in-law, was a chaplain for years in the Air Force. And when Buddy and I, we were just so proud of him because he was a chaplain. And when he was in the service, he's retired now. Mike's been retired, and he retired at a high grade. One time, he was chaplain to the Chiefs of Staff in Washington, D.C. And I went. Now, I wasn't married at the time. I had met James, but I wasn't involved with him, but I knew him. But anyway, I was telling him about how James and I watched that they have once a year for the singing for all the vets and stuff on PBS or KET. You can get it on KET or PBS. They have music, and they had the chief of staff there now. And when I went to D.C., Mike took me through the Pentagon and showed me where it had those planes had come down and what they restored. And coming down the hall, and I don't remember his name, was the chief of staff, who Mike was chatting, knows them all, you know. So he introduced his mother-in-law, me, to the chief of staff in Washington, D.C. And I was thrilled to meet him. You know, he was the chief of staff in Washington, D.C. is a very important person. That's the president's staff. And it was exciting. And they took me out to a seafood place that ran $32 for each person. And that was wonderful. I tell you, the seafood up there on the coast in D.C. was so good. And so anyway, I'm just thrilled. The life that I have had so many exciting times. And I just remember them. So I was telling James how I went to D.C. and I drove it, but I went by myself, drove my car, and just took me a long trip all the way around, visited Karen. I went and visited Myrtle Beach by myself. It did not impress me, but I noticed the other day that I have a commenter that lives on Myrtle Beach, or in Myrtle, lives up there, but I don't know, I was by myself, and it's just not too much fun traveling by yourself. But I got me a motel room and spent the night, and they were nice. I just took a trip by myself. You can do that if you've got the guts, and that's what it takes, and I got guts. I've done so many things by myself. Like when I went to California, and Buddy told me don't come, you know, he kept going AWOL. Of course, if you haven't watched my other videos, you don't know what a hard time I had keeping him in the service. I had to go join him. Is the only way I could keep him from coming home every time I turned around. Seemed like he did it a couple of 3 times. AWOL. And do you know they gave him all kinds of tests and said, oh, you would be good in the Navy. I mean, he took the ink blot test, and they run him all through all of that psychology test, put him in the brig for 6 months. I went up there, quit my job at the Bobolink, and went up there and got me a job right on the base. I mean, you know, if you go in and tell the truth about what's going on, and I just told him, I said, he won't stay in the Navy if I don't stay around, I don't think. And so they got me a job and told me where to find an apartment, where to go, and what to do. And I just did it, and it all worked out. And then after he got out of the brig, he said, now, don't you be coming to California. And I didn't answer him. I just got my money together and gave notice at my work and caught me a train. There was a train back then that ran straight through, and it ran like 2 nights and 3 days. And I just got a regular seat, and you can learn to sleep sitting up if you get so tired, because I learned how, and I just slept. And it was beautiful scenery out through there. And when we got into California and it changed, that was gorgeous. California is so beautiful. And going through the desert and through the mountains, and you could see that snow on the mountains. And I went there, and then, you know, he just went before me and made the crooked places straight as I went. Because when I got there one time, and I went to the base, and I told the head honcho that, you know, I just got here, and I went straight out to where the base, where they train them, not knowing any better. And they just showed me around, and I said, I want to see whoever is in charge here. Here I'm, I think 18 or 19 years old. And I had my little hat on that had a little veil right here, and my little heels about this high. I can't wear high heels. And so I looked as cute as I could. And I had hair back then, and I had a permanent wave. So I looked pretty good. And so I told him I needed an apartment, and you know what? He gave me a chit. He said, I got a place where you can go tonight, and it's got a stove and refrigerator. You don't need bed covers, and and dishes, but here it is. And so I went and I caught the bus and I went there, and there was that little apartment. I had the key. I went to the head office there in the apartment complex, and as I was putting stuff away, getting back from the store, there was a store, like a jot 'em down store, something like a Woolworths, and I had went and bought my pots and spoons and forks and another blanket or so, and it was a variety store, and was getting ready to go in the house, and a bus was coming by, and they saw me and they stopped, and they said, would you be interested in going to church Sunday morning? Because we come through here and we pick up anybody that wants to go. And that was the Assembly of God church bus. I just shook my head in wonder. And they were wonderful to me. And yes, I did go to church with them. And they came and got me. And that all worked out great. Who would have thought it? I mean, do you think that's an accident? No. I think it's God and your guardian angels guarding you and taking care of you. I really do. And I've seen it happen over and over in my life. That don't mean I haven't had sorrows I thought I would never get over. When Buddy died at 63 years of age, we used to talk about who would go first, what would we do? And he said, honey, if you go first, we had a big old fifth wheel still. And he said, if you should go first, he says, I'm going to buy me a small motor home, and I'm just going to keep on keeping on till I get too old to preach. Well, at 63, God called him home, and there I was with a big old fifth wheel with the slide out and truck. What do you do? Well, with the help of the Lord, you figure it out. So I put it on the market, and the thing of it is, my next door neighbor started throwing fits again, because they fixed it so I could park it right by my house, right where I am living right here in very busy area. And they moved a telephone pole, not telephone, but a power pole for me so we could park a trailer when we was home beside our house. And 45 foot takes up a lot of room. And he would sit on his porch and he couldn't see the road one direction because of that trailer. And so he just would argue with me all the time. When are you moving that thing? This is after Buddy died. When are you going to get rid of that? When you move that? Alan's in heaven now. We prayed for him, and you know what? He was not a Christian, but we made friends with him after Buddy died, and he was real kind after that, and he got real sick. He got cancer of the tongue, and they kept cutting pieces of his tongue off, and his wife worked, and she said, you know, I can't hardly stand to stay home with him. He's so grouchy, and I just rather work than be with him. So sometimes I would visit with him, and we'd talk about the Lord, and I said, you know, you need to get right with the Lord, Alan. And you know, he started calling this pastor they used to know, Baptist pastor, and that pastor came and visited with him because of his tongue missing, and he had trouble swallowing, and he quit drinking because he couldn't hardly drink whiskey anymore. He was alcoholic, and so he was another one of them that drank and worked every day. So the pastor prayed with him, and he received Jesus, and I went with Flory when he got baptized. So I was glad he made it right finally with the Lord. But here this big old motorhome, big old fifth wheel sitting there, and the truck. So I'm going to have to drive it. I'm going to have to back it out of there. And found a place where you could take and park it for free and put a for sale sign on it. Honey, I did it. I backed it out. I took it to Sellersburg. That's out Sellersburg, where there was a big grocery store and a big empty lot where they let you park motorhomes or whatever you wanted to park and try to sell it. Didn't charge you anything. It was really a good place. And I got it out there and parked it and put a big for sale sign on it. And I sold them both together with the help of the Lord. And that was a miracle, because I had never really hooked that thing up and pulled it. But that day I did it, and I got it out there. And Alan was happy then. He could see up and down the road like he wanted to see till Jesus called him home. And Jesus is going to call us all home that know him. And home is heaven. We do not want to go to hell. Somebody's calling. I can't talk right now. Hang on, I'll call you in a minute, baby. Okay? That was my sweet James. So I'm going to shut this down and tell y'all, walk that walk where Jesus would be pleased with you. And I'm going to call see what he wants. He probably wants, you know what? I stay ready to do whatever he wants to do. I learned that on the evangelistic field. And I enjoy it. So God bless you. Love you. Walk that walk where Jesus would be pleased. Bye-bye.